coming out of all of the tumult of the 1960s with the counterculture starting to emerge.
And look, I'm all for having an inclusive society where we're respectful of the differences between other people, being kind to each other, but freedom of speech, freedom of thought. When we're reaching a place where all-girl high schools can't use the word girls because it's offensive, things are just slightly getting out of control.
Think about the sort of music that was coming out of the counterculture of the 1960s. The sort of music that celebrated almost a prophecy chart of secular progressivism. Think of John Lennon's Imagine, There's No Heaven. Think of the way that Bob Dylan is singing, The Times They Are A-Changing, which means if you don't get on board, you're gonna sink like a stone.
Minutes now before the top of the hour. More controversy on college campuses. This one revolves around 9/11, and I cannot believe where we're going for this story, an unlikely place, Texas.
And when we reach a stage where we're having to be so careful about what we're saying, is this going to offend you, even I don't like cats.
I've been staggered by the amount. It's just this rush to take offence.
And ever since 2010, they have put up 3,000 flags on September the 11th to memorialize the 3,000 lives lost.
And that's what we're seeing there, all those on the ground with the flag?
Well, the Young Americans for Freedom, the organization behind it, told just in the last week or two they had to move them, and some said it's because of liberal outrage over triggering messages that it sent.
But you're always running the possibility of offending someone, and we can't have a society where no one is offended. That's part of human nature, and it's part of having emotions.
I love being offended.
This is the American flag.
Right.
This is something that unites all of us. We're all Americans.
How is the American flag triggering, harmful, or harassing?
Major change to its signature award statue. It will no longer be the Moon Man, rather a moon person. The decision comes after the network eliminated gender-specific categories.
Well, for all of our lives, we've lived in a world of boys and girls, but that is changing along with everything else in 2017. So these are questions that didn't exist like 18 months ago. Homo sapiens have been around 300,000 years, and for the most part, it was kind of obvious who the boys and girls were. But we've decided in a very short period of time that none of that is real, and we're changing it, because why?
Now, what is the role of Christianity in liberal democracies?
Look, I think the role of Christianity is indispensable in the West. It's given us the freedoms, the attractive society. There's a lot of atheists and secularists who are jumping on the census data to say, look, Christianity's in decline, yada yada. I think what we're seeing is the falling away of cultural Christianity.
There would be a season of great persecution, and in that, there'd be deception, there'd be shakings, there'd be confusion, there'd be disturbances, and there'd be a great falling away. Why is this important? Because I think it's interesting to consider. So I'm personally seeing what, to me, I would say is a surprising falling away.
we feel it is getting harder to be someone who carries a Christian perspective into the public square in this nation. And I think that's something that's concerning a lot of people.
There will be mockers following after their own ungodly lusts. All you need is an internet connection, a television, or the least bit of discernment, and you can see that's going on.
If you say to a little kid, you know, I don't know if you're male or female, you decide, I don't think you're going to get a good outcome a lot of the time at all. That's why people have never done that through human history.
There is always going to be a difference between men and women. We are built differently, in case anybody hasn't noticed.
Whenever God is doing something powerful in the earth, the enemy twists it into something wicked and deceitful. And what I'm seeing right now is this whole gender confusion issue.
We know a lot about the biology of sex because we know that it begins on the chromosomal level. Like there's a science piece to this that's being ignored by people who I thought believed in science. So that's why I'm a little bit confused.
To where the truth that there's no male or female is being twisted into a lie and deception of there's no such thing as male or female. Gender's fluid.
Let's just let you develop as a human being, and eventually you can decide whether or not you want to be a boy or girl or non-binary.
Yeah, but you can't actually decide. And I'm for choice, and there are a lot of biological realities that I'm sad about. And so I'm not attacking anybody, but don't you think that biological reality matters, and lying to kids and telling them, you know, actually you could be 6'7", or you could have blue eyes instead of brown, or whatever. I mean, those are lies, and it's never a good idea to lie to kids, is it?
So the highly anticipated Disney Channel original movie Descendants 2. Here they are with a mashup of ways to be wicked.
We live in a world right now where the problem is we don't know what normal is. Because all we've ever known is a fallen universe in which the wicked one holds sway. 1 John 5.
Thomas Jefferson, you know, the great Enlightenment thinker, a deist, but deeply infused with a Christian understanding of the world. He said, can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are a gift of God?
Tonight in Spain, flames take over a music festival, forcing thousands to flee. Take a look at this. A fire engulfed the stage at the Tomorrowland Unite Music Festival in Barcelona.
The official website of the festival, which is called the Tomorrowland Festival, blamed a technical malfunction, but officials are still investigating the cause of the fire.
The Tomorrowland Unite Festival was being streamed from Belgium. Spanish authorities say all 22,000 people
One of the things that we're starting to even hear from atheist scientists is that the more that we know about the universe, the more that we know what we don't know about the universe. And that there is so much that makes the universe work, dark energy, dark matter, that no one even knows what it is or how to define it.
But do you see how the enemy can even take a truth in God and twist it into where we've fallen away from the truth?
That there's a fluidity about gender, and it's not necessarily rooted in biology.
Why does that not extend to race?
Tell me what you mean by that. You're going to have to explain that one to me.
If I can say I'm a woman, why can't I say I'm a Chinese woman and be taken every bit as seriously? And I'm not mocking you. I'm making a sincere point, and it's a sincere question. What's the difference?
You know, I think it's a great question. I mean, I think as we progress as a society, some of these labels that we're putting on things, and I can't necessarily go to the race question.
Democracy and freedom can't work without a self-governing people who recognise there's a transcendent. At the moment, our politicians think they're God. Well, the American founders knew that a free society wouldn't work unless it was a God.
It's self-expression and self-identity. That is precisely why we are living in a time when so much of what goes on around us is conflict and anger. That's true in interpersonal relationships, and it is true within churches, and it is true within cultures. The spiritual realities that are around us all the time, and we are not able to see them except by receiving the Word of God and believing the Word of God.
Every single one of you matter. Every single one of you is important. Every single one of you is a part of God's plan for this hour. And the enemy wants to shake you. The enemy wants to disturb you. The enemy wants to deceive you. And the enemy wants you falling away from your faith, because we are in the very beginning of the greatest move of God the earth has ever seen. And you are going to be a part of it. And the enemy is terrified of you.
But just to the Middle East, I'm very concerned with what's happened there. There has been essentially a genocide of Christians that's occurred.
Yes, absolutely.
There has been nowhere near the focus that there should have been.
This is the new Nazism. This is the new Holocaust. And all the NGOs in the world, all the reports that have been issued, and no one wants to talk about the fact that this is a holy war. You come here, you look at these crosses with the bullets in them. That's not because of U.S. foreign policy. That's because of Jesus Christ. That's because people here were Christians.
Especially that we're in the laster days. Especially that we're closer to the time when the enemy will multiply his efforts to get you to fall away.
He says that their numbers have plummeted so much that after this, there will be no more Christians in Iraq.
But for 2 years in a row now, Christians have been the most persecuted people group in the earth. And that actually surprised me a little bit, because we don't see much news coverage about Christian persecution. And Jesus talks about a time of persecution that's coming in 2 Thessalonians 2.